Number 15. The hacker. When you venture into the deep end of the deep web, you run into many mysterious individuals. Oftentimes they're tech-savvy and well-versed in hacking. Redditor Gerard 1995 noted that there are some folks on the dark web that you shouldn't cross, and in his own words, this is one of them. The dude who can hack you and put horrible things on your computer so you can go to prison, he writes. I wouldn't annoy that dude. Of course, this isn't an isolated issue. I mean, there's not just one lone hacker that can do this, but many. Others in the thread note that this happens all the time. Lemon Kanan PL wrote that it happened in his hometown to several elderly people. Their computers were hacked, vile stuff was planted, and then they were forced into giving the hacker money, or else the implanted files wouldn't be removed. It was happening so often that they had to put out a notice letting the community know of the epidemic, and that if anyone have this happen to them, they should report it no matter how it might look bad on them. As Redditor Why Am I Still Online puts it, this is the kind of stuff that makes you second guess making a playful jab at someone on the internet. Number 14. A picture is worth 1,000 words. How would you feel if you went out to dinner one night at your local Five Guys, and when you returned home and fired up your computer, you found a photo of yourself on the screen? I think I'd be itching all over with paranoia. That's what happened to Redditor Kletch when he was browsing Tor. As he succinctly explained, he was on Tor, then went to Five Guys to eat. When he returned home, he got on Tor again and discovered a photo of him from earlier that night at that very restaurant. Was someone stalking him? Who? How did they know he was on the deep web in the first place? How did they know he was going to Five Guys? There are too many questions to unload here and not enough answers. Don't worry though, Reddit has plenty of theories. Or as another Redditor, Fooa thought this Redditor was about to lose his life. At least this life-taking attempt didn't succeed, but he did manage to creep out Kletch and all the rest of us in the process. Number 13. Military surplus site. Anyone who surfs the web knows that the surface can be scary enough, so what happens when you dive deeper? Redditor Blast338 wrote about his experience on the dark web saying, found a military surplus site once. This site sold all the equipment the actual military would have. For a few weeks I was worried that someone was going to knock on my door and start asking questions. Others on the thread noted that often the ammo is considered against the law to sell, while the firearm isn't. But when it comes to the ammo, you may be looking at legality issues. As we run through this list, you'll find there are a lot more of those on the deep web. Number 12. Dark web scavenger hunt. Mystery, intrigue, some scary deep web stories actually end up being worthwhile. Redditor Minty Truffle wrote of his experience on the deep net saying, I was part of the No Love Deep Web alternative reality game, where we had to do a deep net scavenger hunt which culminated in me driving to New York to answer a payphone at 3 a.m. Redditors responded with many theories and questions, so Minty Truffle obliged, detailing what the scavenger hunt entailed. The Redditor said that a cryptic image was uploaded to 4chan with a hex code in it, which led to a Tor site download. After freaking out a bit, one user opened the download which had nothing but more codes. Users then searched the deepnet and actually found YouTube videos, one of which had a payphone. They located the payphone and one of the game's informants told users to answer the phone at 3 a.m. on a specific date. When the Redditor arrived along with 4 others, they received the next clue when the phone rang. It took them 2 blocks away to an empty theater. After searching it, they discovered that the clue led nowhere, and the archive remains uncracked. Redditor Alex Katsuni said, "This actually sounds fun, maybe scary, I'm not quite sure. Fun or scary, what do you think?" Number 11. We See You. Redditor Fake Fakington has a scary deep web story that will prompt you to look over your shoulder. The Redditor says that one day he was browsing sites, blogs, and GeoCities sites when he came across a strange but well-designed page that looked like a conglomeration of random thoughts from various people. What were the thoughts? The Redditor believes they were cryptic messages, and upon further investigation, he found a number of IP addresses hidden away in the JavaScript comments. The IPs led to university banner messages that warned that he was entering a secure system, others to servers with next to nothing on them, and lastly to a web server that had a large directory of files and images, which seemed to be mental health professionals, military, and medical records. Well, this was curious more than creepy. The worst was yet to come. In the Redditor's own words, as I browsed from a subdirectory back to the parent, at the top was a new HTML file named something like onehellothere.html. The timestamp was from right that minute. I opened it, and in plain text was the message, "We see you." The server dropped 15 seconds later, as I'm sure the Redditor's heart dropped with it. Number 10. Human Experiment Journals. One anonymous user shared his secondhand experience with the deep web. He wrote, "Something that really stuck with me and disturbed me was these human experiment journals, which documented human experimentation on homeless or taken individuals." Another anonymous Redditor wrote that while he understands the skepticism about deep web stories, they shouldn't be dismissed outright, because some of them are true. He points to the one that was featured on 60 Minutes as an example. The culprit had done some truly evil things, which he'd videotaped and then posted on the deep web. This just goes to show that some of the most depraved and outrageous things really do occur, and human experiment journals may truly be one of them. Number 9. I know who you are. Seeing a photo of yourself is one thing, but when someone online knows your name, Redditor Big Wise Guy 55 was navigating the deep web. When he commented on a video, as you do, he returned to the page later to rewatch the video, and there was a reply to his comment. "That is very astute of you, Mr. Insert real last name." The Redditor said he didn't use the internet for a week after that, as his last name is uncommon. How could someone in the scene of anonymity know his name? That's what one Redditor asked. He got some knowledgeable answers from many on the thread. Beast noted it's pretty easy to find someone's identity on the internet, even on the deep web. Another Redditor, Raincoats George, commented that people are lazy online, using the same usernames and passwords on numerous accounts, and that information is often available and easy to find. The point is, anyone and everyone is vulnerable to this type of sleuthing. Just hope that you won't be next. Number 8. I Spy. The following creepy deep web story was shared by an anonymous Redditor. The worst that happened is I went on a sketchy website, then someone started accessing my camera. However, the Redditor's camera was already broken. This story seemed to give others in the thread the creeps. Waka2642 chimed in saying, "Whenever I'm using my computer, I feel like my camera is recording me, even though it's blocked with a rubber cap and it's not recording." Other Redditors said that feeling as though you're being watched is not unusual. Some people even let it take over their lives. One anonymous Redditor said that he constantly felt as though there were cameras on him, even in the vents of his house, and the paranoia made him act differently. Stubbs94 said he really did have someone watching his every move in a previous job. His employers would watch their staff remotely and then ding him on stuff. The experience made him paranoid, as it probably would anyone. One anonymous Redditor gave some valuable advice. Speaking to someone about the feeling can help, like a professional therapist. The worst thing is, you never know if you're being paranoid or whether someone actually might be spying on you, as this Redditor discovered. Number 7. Caught in the Act. Owen Johnston had an episode on one site, which will make you avoid it by any means. He still isn't completely sure how the individual managed to do what he did. What did he do? In the Redditor's own words, "I was buying some, in quotations, clothing, off the deep web for a while, and one day received an inbox on my personal Twitter account The person talked about how I was an amateur and obviously didn't protect my identity enough, and that they would report me to the police with information about the clothing I was buying. What happened when the Redditor said he'd call their bluff? The person chimed back, "What would insert mom and dad's name say about this, or your teachers from insert school name say?" The man, of course, wanted money in exchange for his silence, and what could the Redditor do? All his personal info was in the palm of this man's hands. On top of that, he believed his Tor browser had been compromised. After thinking about it for a while though, he wondered if the man had simply seen the Redditor's personal Twitter account, follow another account titled "Is Silk Road Up and Running?" and then made an assumption and searched for personal info connected to the account. He decided this is what had happened, so instead of sending money, he simply blocked the account and walked away. Luckily, he seemed to be right. At least nothing further has happened. Which leads us to wonder, was he right about his tactic, or could his Tor browser be compromised to this day? Number 6. Middle of nowhere. Sometimes those who venture into the deep web might find something dark and disturbing that they don't know how to handle, especially when the venturer is young and unsure. Redditor Maple Russian was only 12 or so when he first navigated the deep web. He writes, "I found a guy who lived in a house in the middle of nowhere, who had his sister locked up in his house and would rent her out to people. I noped out of there pretty fast." When Redditors hopped on the thread, wondering why the Redditor didn't contact authorities about this creep, as he explained he didn't know who to tell, and that he was told that the dark net was untraceable. He also felt uncomfortable explaining what he'd seen to his parents, and so, as he said, noped right out of there and deleted the browser. Some also wondered why the feds weren't able to sting these sorts of creeps. Firefly KOS noted it was because these sorts of creeps plan meticulously and mask everything. They share locations and other details of their actions with only people they trust, not with the public. Others noted, however, that the feds are often involved in sting operations and bait and switch schemes on the dark web. So who knows what might have happened had the Redditor or someone else surfing the deep web reported it, and maybe someone did. One Redditor, "I'm Your Child," pointed out that whether or not a deep web post looks fishy or fake, this one was worth reporting. The Redditor said that law enforcement agencies sometimes post photos of objects or other items of interest in places like r/whatisthisthing to try and seek any assistance in identifying stuff connected to whatever cases they're trying to solve. This is how they identify locations and build profiles, so any report is a worthy one. As I'm Your Child says, your piece might be one piece of a 10,000 piece puzzle, but every piece counts. Keep that in mind, internet investigators and deep web divers, whenever you come across something of this nature. Number 5. The cloud. If you're not tech savvy, you likely don't have a clue about how the cloud works, just like everyone in this entry. Redditor JRath describes a website he was once shown with hundreds of pages, of 50 or so streams on each page. He describes it as a stream feed aggregation. What was on these streams? DIY in-home security systems, backed up to the cloud, broadcasting everything going on inside private homes, while the homeowners were none the wiser. This revelation led some on the thread to wonder whether buying a security camera for their own home was in the right way to go. JReth responded, "I think on your local Wi-Fi would be okay, but it all boils down to one key thing: know what you are doing with these devices before you deploy them." Others suggested that local Wi-Fi wasn't safe, or at least was vulnerable, and JReth backed that statement up, saying that some knowledge of networking is necessary in order to make cheap home security systems at all secure. Just a heads up to all those who have such a system installed in their own homes, know what you're doing, or you may become another unknowing reality star in this swath of live streams. Number 4. Ripped off. As if the surface web isn't bad enough when it comes to rip-offs, the deep web is a haven for them. FizzFox Faxons shared his story of being ripped off at 15 years old. At that age, he was looking for quick and easy ways to make money, and in his own words, stumbled upon this site owned by a Vietnamese guy that claimed to offer PayPal transfers for a small fee. The Redditor decided to give it a shot. With some safeguards in place, he sent the guy a message over a temporary email, and the man responded with a deal, saying he'd take a $300 money order for 600 PayPal dollars. Using a fake name, the Redditor signed up for a Western Union account and sent the money using his mom's PayPal. After 30 minutes, there was still no money, and messages to the man went unanswered. Surprise, surprise. However, due to FizzFox Faxon's safeguard, he was able to get his money back. The moral of the story: don't lose yourself in these kinds of schemes. Hard work will pay off in the end, and stay away from the dark web. Number 3. Hitman. Redditor Aaron Candy came across something not so unusual for the dark web, but still quite scary. He and his friend were navigating the deep web when they came across a hitman for hire, only 10 grand a person. In his words, you provide them with details of who it is, stated no children or public figures, and how long they have to do it. The Redditor said he and his friend immediately noped out of there and didn't return for a good while. But some on the thread thought the so-called hitman may not have been what he seemed. As commenter Neutron Fish stated, on the internet, the men are men, the women are men, the kids are FBI agents, and the hitmen are also FBI agents. In other words, on the dark web, if you're doing bad things, you may just get caught after all. Number 2. The Mask. Redditor Cat10back just tells it like it is. His story is both visceral and stomach churning. In his words, a friend of mine went digging and found a video of someone taking a face from someone off his head and used it as a mask. One Redditor, Lost Gunder, said that he watched a video from South America where the folks on it were doing the same thing. Even freakier, the people in the video were laughing. Redditor To Be Read Out Loud notes that the video described has a name, and it's apparently Funky Town. The song is played in the video's background. As the Redditor suggested, if you have any doubt at all about whether you could handle watching it, don't. Believe me, I won't. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person, so if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way you'll be notified of the new video we upload every Tuesday. Number 1. Confessions. What's worse than confessing your misdeeds? Confessing them on the dark web. Redditor Every Good UN was taken discovered a site that was basically nothing more than an internet confession board on which users would confess some of their deepest, darkest thoughts or actions, most of which were benign and not anything outrageous. But weirder than the confessors was the confessee. In the Redditor's words, they wouldn't be so bad if the supposed priest making judgment on the confessors was an alleged divine robot who was more than happy to give anathema onto you, two confessors he deemed unworthy of forgiveness. He also gave users really weird instructions to follow if they wanted to be forgiven. While the Redditor doesn't elaborate about what those instructions were, I'm betting they were far from 10 Hail Marys and an Our Father. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!